10th, 11th, 12th of April 2025, barely about a month ago. Remember the violence that unfolded in Murshidabad district in Bengal, specifically as the Hindus said that they were targeted, their houses were burned down. All of this was in protest with regard to the Waqf amendment bill that was set to be passed by the parliament. The protest landed with the Hindu community, specifically in Murshidabad, that had to flee for their safety. Ethnic cleansing was also the name that was coming in from that. Amid all of this, shocking details have emerged, and we're not putting out conjecture. A fact-finding committee that was constituted by the Calcutta High Court has now submitted their report on the communal violence that erupted. And the question mark coming on literally on these doorstep here. I want to take you through immediately the findings that India Today has exclusively accessed with regard to the report that has been submitted to the Calcutta High Court. Now, these are Murshidabad truth files and how. I want to tell you what the panel report. This is, remember, the three-member panel, and the members were from the National Human Rights Commission, from the Legal Services Authority, from Judicial Services, so important, significant positions with experience. Finding number one, and you'll be shocked, that a TMC councillor led miscreants to the victims into areas that were sensitive. A councillor, local councillor. Information also suggests that he was a former chairperson of the Dhuliyar municipality by the name that has been mentioned. One TMC MLA, unnamed here, a member of Legislative Assembly, ladies and gentlemen, elected MLA, went to the spot, realized what the situation was, but did not act. He did not even return to the location. He's an MLA. He clearly had contacts and resources. Lives could have been saved. And now, third point, the question mark on the Bengal police. Where was the police? Why were reinforcements not sent right away, realizing that the situation is worsening? Remember, not just civilians, not just the Hindu community members, several police personnel, few and far in number, also received serious injuries. The inactivity and absence of the police during the incidents have been mentioned in that report submitted to the Calcutta High Court. And then very categorically mentioning, take a look at this, that many temples and houses were also destroyed by the miscreants. Was this a targeted attack? An organized violence? Why couldn't it be stopped in time? Finding number 5, that the cops forced victims, and this is all on record, that the cops forced some of the victims to return to the riot zone. Now, of course, remember, on agenda was to show that all is well. The situation has become normal again. They are heading back, but heading back to their broken homes, to a place of fear. This is very important. These are very shocking, important details that are coming in, submitted to the Calcutta High Court. How will this be taken ahead? What will the TMC government say about it? And when I talk about the TMC councillor, the name Mehboob Alam has come forth. The TMC MLA, hand in glove with the councillor. The MLA is still unnamed, so we'll try and get clarity on that. Inactivity and absence of the police during the incidents. Temples were destroyed. Councillor came with miscreants. What was happening in Bengal? An anti-Waqf protest, viewer, landed into targeted attacks at the Hindus. Why? What happened? There were people, especially, remember, women with little children, and these were all ground reports India Today had brought to you, had to flee, cross the Ganga with literally bare minimum to be able to reach to safety. Some of the cops forced victims to return to the riot zone. TMC MLA saw the vandalism, did not act. All of this is part of the panel report. I'm reiterating for you to help you understand of how possibly the violence could have been stopped right away. Was there callousness on parts of different authorities, from politicians to the cops? Joining me now, Indrajit Kundu, who's accessed some of those details, our editor from Kolkata. Indrajit, I want to bring in here about what are the facts that have surfaced right now. What is it that you can confirm? Talking about the councillor Mehboob Alam, whose name has been mentioned, the unnamed MLA. Has the police said anything? Because a lot of blame is being pinned on them too. Go ahead.
Well, you know, as we have been reporting, this is a report that has been submitted before a division bench of the Calcutta High Court. This was a fact-finding team, and this team was set up by the High Court itself. And it had members of the National Human Rights Commission, the West Bengal Legal Aid Services, and WBJS. This three-member committee has finally submitted its report before the Calcutta High Court last week, and some of the facts stated in that report are damning, nonetheless, and it's very embarrassing for the West Bengal government. That's the reason why the opposition is up in arms against the Mamata Banerjee government, because it clearly states that there was police inaction, that there were distress calls that were received by the police, but there was no action that took place. There were complicity of the local administration, the local Trinamool Congress leadership, with one councillor being named. There is the reference of an MLA whose name has, of course, not been mentioned in that report. And these are all, testimonies of the victims, because the team went to Murshidabad and spoke to the victims, because it all began with a case where the petitioner had challenged the West Bengal government's proposal to give compensation and rehabilitation to the victims of Murshidabad violence, because the compensation was uniform for everybody. The petition says that because there are different magnitude and different scales of vandalism, some houses have been completely destroyed. How is it that the West Bengal government is trying to give a uniform package and a uniform compensation to each and everybody? Somebody who may have died, somebody who may have lost his business and house, everybody can't be given the same compensation package. And in order to assess the damages on the ground, the High Court then formed this three-member committee, and this three-member committee went on ground, spoke to the victims, and then whatever they found out, they have placed it before the High Court as a report. And some of the findings, of course, are damning. It clearly says that on Friday, after 2:30, when the walk-off protest had gotten over, then miscreants started attacking some of these areas. It clearly says that despite the MLA being present there, he saw there was vandalism, but he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything to stop it. It says that miscreants were led by, the local councillor, the former councillor, Mehboob Alam. His name has been featured there. It says that there were Hindu religious places that were attacked. So these are things that we have seen by ourselves when we were reporting out of Murshidabad, and something which only has now been corroborated by this report which has been placed before the Calcutta High Court.
Indrajit, you make a very good point. Remember, India Today and the team led by Indrajit had already been reporting from Malda, Murshidabad and the shelter camps where at least 400 people had come in. And at this juncture, remember, primarily young women who just fled with their little children, bare minimum, no luggage, because their houses were being targeted. And I still remember how so many of these women were crying. They didn't know how to even express the shock, and now the details are only corroborating those ground reports. But will that lead to any accountability? Indrajit, I request you to please stay on. Shreya Chatterjee also joins me on this. Shreya, you also reported from Bengal, in fact, from the border as well of India-Bangladesh, because there was this whole argument. If these were outsiders, have they been brought in from somewhere? But the fact is, when you see the kind of report findings, you realize that the administration could have stopped this. Lives could have been saved, and yet a question mark. Was there callousness? Look away. It's an anti-Waqf protest. Let it happen. So what if a few are being targeted?
Well, Pooja, there is no denial of the fact that there is a level of complicity, if not at the level of the top government, but at least in the level of the local government involved in Murshidabad, in Dhulian, Shamsherganj area. Now, why this committee report had to come before to again put the light back on Murshidabad, the question there lies, because yes, there has been action on the part of the West Bengal government. There have been a spree of administrative transfers. We have seen multiple local police officials who have been transferred out of their position after the riots. Yes, compensation has been given. Why then is a question still lying against the West Bengal government? Because look over here, you're not really putting the face out there of those responsible for the riots. Your own people had to flee their homes, had to take shelter elsewhere, and here's a government who's somewhere down the line not making it entirely clear or giving a name to who were these people that orchestrated the violence, and still saying that people came from outside, which is really very contrary to what this committee report is saying, and also some of our own findings when we were there on Murshidabad on ground.
You know, we can only hope, now that we've accessed these details, I'm sure the state government has access to it too, that at least they'll hold the ones accountable. I'm talking about 113 houses badly affected. I'm also talking about Hargovind Das, a 74-year-old man, his son Charan Das, 40-year-old man, were dragged out of their house, killed with axe at a time when it was ensured that they died. They had nothing to do with the Waqf Amendment Bill. Look at and remember the violence that had happened. This is on your screen to remind you, to jog your memory. Don't forget Murshidabad so easily. Now, what are the names that are coming in with this regard? According to the report submitted, one name has surfaced, and that name is of Mehboob Alam, a TMC neta that, according to the report findings, that he was seen with miscreants, allegedly directed attacks, is what the name has come. Now, is he the local councillor that is being mentioned? Is he the one, according to our sources, a former chairperson of Dhulia municipality? Then comes in an unnamed Trinamool Congress MLA, an elected representative, that he went on the location, saw vandalism, chose not to return. Who is this MLA and why was he not named in the report? Then the Bengal police. And even at a juncture when police personnel were targeted and how they've been accused of being inactive and absent. Clearly, at a juncture when there's no police, the miscreants will run riot. And remember, this is not just about targeted attacks. If it was an anti-Waqf Amendment Bill protest, why was a mall looted? Why were pharmacies attacked? What was on agenda here in the Murshidabad district? And we have now a confirmation from Mehboob Alam, whose name has surfaced. What is he saying in his defense? Let's listen in.
उस दिन जो घटना हुआ वो कुछ दंगाबाज का काम है। हम इससे पहले तो बोला दंगाबाज का कोई धर्म नहीं है, वो दंगा ही करेंगे। हम लोग मुकाबला करने की कोशिश किए, लेकिन बहुत सारा छोटा बड़ा बहुत आदमी आया था, लेकिन हम लोग को अटैक किया। उस दिन हम लोग एक घर में घुस गए। वो इलाका का नाम है नदबपड़ा, जो से नदब का घर में, और दो हिंदू फैमिली को लेके घुसाया घर। हम कहते हैं इस टाइम पॉलिटिक्स करने का टाइम नहीं है, आदमी को बचाने का काम है। इस टाइम आदमी को बचाइए, पॉलिटिक्स करने का टाइम बहुत मिलेगा, आदमी बचा रहे तो।
So you heard from the man who has been mentioned, or appears to have been the man who's mentioned in that report. Will accountability be set for him? Indrajit Kundu will put this in perspective. Indrajit, my problem with such comments is don't do politics, mobsters have no religion. I understand the academic part of it, but the fact is there were a group of mobsters who were busy targeting innocent people. What is being done about it? What are you picking up from the government sources about how do you think this report could be taken ahead?
Well, look, Pooja, one, of course, is these eyewitness accounts or the victims' accounts which has made its way into this report. The other, of course, would be the forensic evidence and the investigation that the police and other agencies are carrying out. And they will have to provide evidence before the court to prove culpability of all these names that are now propping up. Mehboob Alam, if at all he was involved, the name has propped up in one of the reports which has mostly eyewitness accounts. But that may not suffice. In order to prove his culpability, the agencies will have to give foolproof evidence before the court to show that Mehboob Alam was actually the one who actually instigated this riot. We've also reported earlier, Pooja, and Shreya would also be able to, corroborate that.
Yes.
There are names of other Trinamool Congress leaders with visual evidence we have shown on India Today, how they had given, instigated, they had given some speech which almost, was a hate speech, and that instigated more violence in that area.
Yes.
Did those hate speeches lead to such kind of violence during walk-off protests? These are something which are in the purview of the investigation which is underway right now. And also the Calcutta High Court is monitoring the entire thing. So we'll have to wait and watch, because in July, this report will be opened by the Calcutta High Court next time when the hearing takes place. And we'll have to see how the Calcutta High Court, sees this entire report.
Indrajit, thank you for getting even these startling initial details that you have from the report submitted to the Calcutta High Court. My concern remains with regard to the families that were affected, who had to flee for their life. Those who could not survive, a wife watching her husband and son be killed in a brutal manner. Who do they have? Why are we forgetting them so easily? Will the government ensure they get justice? These were poor families in Murshidabad district. An anti-Waqf bill protest turns into targeted violence on them. What did they do? with regard to the war. However,
अगर पहलगाम में चुन चुन कर हिंदुओं को मारा गया तो मुर्शिदाबाद में
about how political violence has started on this.
चुन चुन कर पहलगाम में चुन चुन कर हिंदुओं को मारा गया तो मुर्शिदाबाद में चुन चुन कर हिंदुओं के घर, मकान और लोगों को मारने का प्रयास किया गया। मुझे लगता है कि अब इसके बाद पश्चिम बंगाल सरकार के पास किसी प्रकार का मुंह नहीं रह गया है यह कहने का कि वहां पर हिंसा नहीं हुई थी।
মুর্শিদাবাদে ঘটনার পর মাননীয় মুখ্যমন্ত্রী এবং পুলিশ প্রশাসন সমস্ত দায়িত্ব পালন করেছে। এর পাশাপাশি একটা লার্জার কনস্পিরেসির একটা অ্যাসপেক্ট রয়েছে। কি করে বাইরের লোকেরা ঢুকলো, সীমান্তের ওপাশ থেকেও ঢুকতে পারে, এপাশ থেকে কিভাবে বাইরের লোকেরা ঢুকে পড়লো তার তদন্ত চলছে, তার সমস্ত ইঙ্গিত পাওয়া যাচ্ছে। যখন দেশ এক হয়ে সন্ত্রাসের বিরুদ্ধে লড়ছে তখন এই বিজেপি নেতারা মুর্শিদাবাদ নিয়ে যে অপপ্রচার করছেন, যে বিভেদকামী রাজনীতি করছেন, এটা কিন্তু সম্পূর্ণভাবে একটা চক্রান্তের।
এবং মমতা বন্দ্যোপাধ্যায় এই দাঙ্গাকারীদেরকে বাঁচানোর জন্য চেষ্টা করেছেন, মিথ্যে কথা বলেছেন, রাজ্যের মানুষকে বিভ্রান্ত করেছেন। আজকে আমি মাননীয় মুখ্যমন্ত্রী মমতা বন্দ্যোপাধ্যায়ের কাছে দাবি করছি রাজ্যের মানুষকে মিথ্যে কথা বলার জন্য ক্ষমা চান। রাজ্যের মানুষের কাছে উচিত, পশ্চিমবঙ্গবাসীর কাছে হাত জোর করে তার ক্ষমা চাওয়া উচিত যে আমি মিথ্যে কথা বলেছিলাম সেই সময়, মমতা বন্দ্যোপাধ্যায় এটা যেন স্বীকার করেন। কারণ মুখ্যমন্ত্রী হয়ে তিনি মিথ্যে কথা বলছেন, এটা আমাদের জন্য অত্যন্ত লজ্জার, পশ্চিমবঙ্গবাসী হিসেবে লজ্জার যে একজন মুখ্যমন্ত্রী, পশ্চিমবঙ্গের মুখ্যমন্ত্রী, তিনি মিথ্যে কথা বলছেন বাংলার মানুষকে বোকা বানানোর জন্য।
The findings of the report submitted to the Calcutta High Court are contrary to what Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee had said a few weeks ago. She had blamed simply the outsiders of inciting and indulging in the violence, that they cannot be Bengalis, that they cannot be Murshidabad residents. Here's what she had said.
কারা করিয়েছেন, প্ল্যান করে, কি করে করিয়েছেন, কিভাবে করিয়েছেন, আমি এই কটা দিন ধরে অনেক কষ্ট করেছি, রেকর্ডও করেছি। কারা করেছে, কিভাবে প্ল্যান করে করেছে। আমি নিজে হিন্দু নই, আমি নিজেও তো হিন্দু পরিবারের মেম্বার, তো আমি কেন হিন্দু মুসলমান করব? কিন্তু আমি যখন চেয়ারে থাকি বা কোনো রাজনীতি করি বা কোনো সংগঠনে থাকি, আমার কাছে হিন্দু, মুসলমান, শিখ, খ্রিস্টান, জৈন, ঈসাই, পারসিক সবাই সমান।
The Bengal administration could not stop that violence in the month of April in Murshidabad specifically and also in Malda. At least can they ensure that justice is provided to the families that were affected. And we'll be tracking that, especially for the victims on the ground.